Hello, everybody. All right, let me know if you can hear. Uh-oh. Tommy, I'm not seeing my microphone going out. Hello? Let me see if they can hear me. I'm not seeing my microphone thing going out. So I might. Okay, good. Usually there's a little thing that lights up by the microphone, and it's not doing it. So I thought I had everything right, but I wasn't sure. All right, so I have to do it from home. So pardon the noise in the background. My husband got a new computer this week, and it is not quite set up. So he is at the church setting that up. So in a row. So I'm pretty excited about it. Next week, we're going to have Mrs. Sherry Thompson, and she's going to be on talking about basically if you have a past, leaving your baggage behind and moving forward in your walk with Christ. So that's going to be an exciting topic. And then the week after that, I am having Mrs. Jujana Anderson on to talk about her new book that she just released, her new homeschool book. So hopefully, we're hoping by then that most of this lockdown will be over and we'll be able to go back to the libraries and take full advantage of her homeschooling book. So you won't want to miss either one of them. I might try to do some type of thing with Mrs. Anderson, maybe do like a call-in show where you guys can call in and ask homeschooling questions. We're going to be talking about homeschooling the whole time. Ask her any questions related to her new book, things like that, unless you just prefer texting or leaving it in the chat. So make sure you like and subscribe, all the videos, all that good stuff. So hi, Amber, we missed you. So make sure you do all that good stuff, and you know the drill. So let's, yeah, and if you have any comments to this, please leave them in the chat. I'll try to read them off. If you have any stories about different things that you've gone through when it comes to labor and delivery, please leave them in the chat. Jessica said, I would like to say that when I read the topic for this week, my first thought was Pitocin is the devil in the form of medication. That is all. So I've actually had 7 pain medication free labor and deliveries. I've never had any type of pain meds with them, but I have had Pitocin with, I know at least 2, maybe possibly 3. I've had Pitocin with because of my water breaking and then delayed contractions. Actually, maybe it was just 2. I think it was just, was it 2 or 3? It might have been 3. My first one was because my water broke with my first baby at 36 weeks, and I did not go into labor. And you know how they are when you go in the hospital, they want you to have your baby within a certain amount of time after your water breaks. And I was young. I was only 20. It was my first baby. And so they did give me Pitocin, and then that's what kind of got labor going. And then for my last 2, I have had it for 3. And then my last 2, not Kelly, I didn't have any with her, but Lana and Allie, I had Pitocin with because they were both posterior babies. And because they were posterior babies, my labor completely stopped once I was at like a 5 or 6 and my water was already broken. So they gave me Pitocin to start up the contractions again, and it definitely worked. So honestly, when it comes to Pitocin, I know you might think I'm crazy, but I haven't really noticed much of a difference between my Pitocin babies and my non-Pitocin babies. And I've not had pain meds for any of them, so I felt every little thing. It maybe a tiny bit different when it came to, I would have a little bit of a break between my babies. I didn't have Pitocin. I would have a little bit of break even during transition between the contractions. Whereas Pitocin, they might be more on top of each other, but then I feel like I got through transition quicker with Pitocin. So it was like, even though I had the pain on top of each other like that, it was over faster. So I haven't really noticed a big difference when it comes to that. Now, some women will say opposite, and they've said that Pitocin was horrible. It was so much worse than natural. And with no Pitocin, I personally have not noticed that. So Ashley S. Sorry if it's going in and out. This connection is not very good. I'm at my house, so bear with me. I might be a little glitchy sometimes, so hopefully that won't be a case the whole time. Ashley, the reason that I have no medicine during labor is because I always say it's because I'm a wimp, because I do not want them putting a big needle in my back. That is the main thing. I have back problems. I have spine problems already. I have 2 herniated discs, and I have also a curve in my spine. So, and right where they normally would put the needle in my spine is where the curve is. And I've always been very nervous that they're going to puncture something or I'm going to have far lasting consequences. And since I've had all of them, I've found that my pain is very manageable. I have a very high pain tolerance. So my pain is very manageable up until about the last hour before I'm pushing. And so I feel like I can just make it through that last hour. I can do it, I can bear it. So I would rather do that, have the short amount of intense pain than have a needle in my back and then be limited and moving. I like to move around sometimes and things like that. So it's always been that way for me. Some women might feel differently. So Kirsten said, I read that if you get the right dose of Pitocin, it doesn't cause issues, but hospitals usually give massive doses. And when I have had it, they have always started me out at the lowest dose to start out, and then they increase it every so often, but they've never really had to go back. So maybe that's why it's not really that bad when I've had to have it, because it wasn't a very high dose. I just needed like a little kickstart to my labors. I was already in active labor. My water was already broken, but because they were posterior, that really slowed things down because they weren't in the right position. So we're going to actually be going over that a little bit too. But I actually had a lady email me last week and ask if I could talk about this subject, because she really believes that with her labor and deliveries, when she had her epidurals, it caused a lot of respiratory distress in her babies. And so she kind of wanted to get the word out there. And I actually have read and everything I was reading about epidurals, that is a very known side effect, is that it can cause respiratory distress right when the baby's born. So I did definitely want to cover that. And I'll go over some of the pros and cons when it comes to epidurals and things of that nature. As far as other pain meds, I have never had any. So I don't really know. I don't have any expertise in that area. If anyone has had some, please, by all means, let me know. I know there's some kind of, I think they just started, it's some kind of mask that they can give women with a little bit of pain meds in it to kind of help. I've never had that. So I'm not really sure, if that's what that is all about or anything. Oh, I didn't get the text. Oh yeah, you're right. Okay. Karen just reminded me. I totally forgot about the text. Okay. Man, my mind is I am out of my element because I'm doing it at my house right now. So yeah, let me go real quick and send this text. Karen, you're right. I need to get them all off of Paul's channel. I don't know about all of you, but I'm just kind of just the whole coronavirus thing. So, I'm over it. Okay. Thank you for reminding me. Here we go. Let's share this. How do I share it? I don't even know how. Let's see. Right here? What is this? Aha. I figured it out. I've never done this while I'm actually going. Okay. Let's put this in here. Okay. Sorry for the interruptions. We're sending it. All right. 75 people are now signed up. Remember, gently led to 31 something. 31996, I believe. Let me see. Okay, so yes, gently led. Someone write it down for me. I can't remember what it is. 31996. There we go. All right. So yeah, I'm completely over the coronavirus thing. So yes, fentanyl I have heard of. I never had it. So, I hope everything will be over by next month, Laura Beth, and that you can have a baby normally. So, Yes, Dana, go sign up. Just send gently led, all lowercase, to 31996. Nitrous oxide, that's it. So you didn't like it. It didn't help you very much. I think that's more of a, I think that's almost more of like an English thing. I think they use it a lot in the UK. I haven't heard many using it in America, but I think it's kind of starting to get popular in America. So, but I wanted to talk about some things to prepare for labor because I really feel like this is key. With my last baby, with Kelly, I really took a hands-on approach to this because my 2 babies before her were my worst. They were my worst pregnancies. They were my worst labors. They were my worst deliveries. And I did not want to go through that. They were both posterior. And I just had a lot of back pain during my pregnancy because of the way they were positioned. So I really, really took a hands-on approach. When I got pregnant with Kelly, I said, I am going to have a good labor and delivery this time. I'm determined. So that's some things I did. The number one thing I did was I had chiropractic adjustments the whole pregnancy. And I really feel like this is key. And I really felt like it did keep her in the correct position. Your chiropractor, if he's used to working on pregnant women, he's going to know how to adjust, how to line the baby so that they're in optimal position. And it seemed to help because he did a good job just making sure he could feel where she was and how she was laying. And so I was adjusted the whole time. Also, I did a lot of walking because I had gestational diabetes with Kelly. And I really think walking just every day really helped keep me loose and helped me help not be tight. Because a lot of times when you have tight muscles and you're real tight, the baby will try to turn and position itself in a more comfortable position. And that's why they go posterior a lot of times. So I think a lot of walking really helped. I checked on spinning babies a lot. I would ask my midwife, okay, how is the baby position? And she would tell me, okay, here's the back and here's the head. And it's, in right occiput position or left occiput position, whatever it is, or posterior position. And so I kept track of that. And Kelly was actually breech. Most of my babies at about 34 weeks are breech. I don't know why I've actually had a breech baby before vaginally. So my babies like that position. And at 34 weeks, Kelly was breech. And so I looked up Spinning Babies, spinningbabies.com. It's an amazing website. And I did a bunch of their inversions on there, their exercises. And you're going to do silly stuff like put your knees on the couch and, lean forward onto your elbows and kind of be upside down a lot. Or, I took my kid's toy box lid and I leaned it up against the couch. And then you lay on that with your head on the ground. And by the next appointment, she was no longer breech and she was in the correct position. So I swear by spinning babies, that definitely helped, I think. But yeah, chiropractic, walking, spinning babies, and also my exercise ball. I pretty much lived on my exercise ball for the last month. And that really helps open your hips up more. And so anytime I was watching a movie, anytime I was doing anything, I was on that exercise ball. And if I ever have another, I will definitely be taking advantage of that. Instead of sitting on the computer chair, you sit on the exercise ball. Anytime that you're in the living room just doing stuff, reading a book, you sit on the exercise ball. And that really, really, really helped me. So as American women, we sit a lot, especially if you're a homeschooling mom. You're sitting a lot. I mean, we're also busy and things too, but we do a lot of sitting when it comes to, and for me, especially, I teach piano, so I'm sitting a lot. So it's important to get baby into the correct position. And so, but yeah, exercise ball is definitely a must thing get. And also, this is a little unknown thing, but if you look it up, you'll see that it's true. I ate dates throughout my pregnancy, the last trimester. And not only is it good fiber, but they are supposed to prepare your body for labor and prepare you for quick deliveries. Now, Kelly was by far my fastest, my easiest, it was incredible how fast she was. And I don't know if it's due to those dates I ate, but they're the large ones, the real large ones. I can't remember what they're called. They start with an M, Marge something. They're the really large dates, and Aldi actually has them with the pits in it. And I would eat two, so 6 dates throughout every day. And since I had the gestational diabetes, I had to be careful not to eat all of them at once because they are high in sugar. So I would eat 2 in the morning, 2 in the afternoon, 2 at night. And I'm not kidding you. We checked into the hospital. I can't even remember the exact timeline, but between 6 and 7 p.m., I believe. And she was born by 10 or something. So like 3 hours later, it was crazy intense. So I don't know if it was just because she was lined up right. When I've had my babies lined up, it's been super easy labor and deliveries, like so fast. My second one, Jason, he was in optimal position. He was born super quickly. And then also Kelly was those two were my hands down best. So it was pretty awesome. So yeah, I like dates though. So, some women have had different, experiences with them, but man, it sure helped me with Kelly. So yes, that's what they are. Medjool dates. I don't even know if I'm saying that right. So wow, that's really impressive, Miss Lady Winter. It was a lot longer for me when it came to that. So yeah, you're supposed to eat the dates it's like the last month at least the last month. I started about the last 2 months just trying it out. I'm like, well, let's try this. I like dates anyways. So yeah, you can go ahead and try it the last month or two. Yes. And then all this stuff looks good, Laura Beth. She said, my midwife recommends dates. My last labor was 5 hours, and I was taking Dr. Christopher's birth prep, red raspberry leaf, evening primrose, and alfalfa. I also take evening primrose the last month, and that really helps soften your cervix and get you ready for it. So, and I have drank red raspberry leaf tea on and off through my pregnancies. I guess it's good for you. It's not going to hurt you. So that is another recommendation too. But if you are, I'm going to talk about this more when we get into the inductions, because I know for some women, if you are having your baby in a hospital setting, they do not want you to go past 42 weeks. And maybe you go to that and you don't want to be induced by the artificial means. I know there's Foley bulbs. I've never had one of those. There is something called, is it Cervidil? The stuff that ripens your cervix. I had that one time with Abby, my breech baby, and it was pretty intense. I've only had to have it once, and she was actually breech, and I don't know if she flipped right at the end, but I had her naturally, and she was born safely. Thank the Lord. But I've only had that one time, but I've heard bad things about it, so I would definitely research that. One of my doctors, my midwives, actually wanted me to do that with one of them. I can't remember why, and I refused. And I ended up going into labor that night anyways, so I wouldn't even needed it. But but yeah. So let's go into meds versus non-pain meds, okay? Because there are some pros, obviously, of medication. There is, you have lower pain, obviously. You can rest a lot more. I know with each of my labor and deliveries, I have never rested during them. From the time I start having those contractions, I'm awake. So even when my water broke with my first at 10 p.m. at night, and I didn't have him until 2 p.m. the next day, I didn't sleep that whole time. And I didn't really even start having contractions until they started the Pitocin. But I was just so adrenaline, the adrenaline was going before that. It was my first baby. I was excited. There's no way I was going to be sleeping. So I haven't really experienced rest with any of mine, but I don't know. Those of you that have had an epidural, do you sleep when you have it? Do you feel like you can sleep? Do you feel like you can rest? Or is it like me where you're just, the adrenaline's going because I'm about to have my baby? So I don't even know if women with epidurals do rest more, but that was, something that I was reading about. You're more alert if you're able to rest, obviously. It's effective for long surgical procedures. If you have to go in to have a C-section, whatever, it's there, it's done. Now, this last time I went in to have a baby with Kelly, I did not like it that they had to do an automatic IV. I guess in my hospital now in Dixon, they told me that no matter if you have pain meds, if you have no pain meds, whatever, they have something happens and they need to really quickly do something like, I don't know, emergency, put stuff in your IV. So that was kind of annoying because they didn't wear my wrist and it was just taped down the entire time. And I don't even think they used it. So it was just kind of annoying having it there in my vein, right, my wrist. So I'm not very pleased that that's the routine now, but I'm not surprised either. So, and Nicole, one of the reasons I refused it for the second is because I went and I did my own research. When I was younger, I was not, well, okay, when I was younger, we didn't have smartphones and the internet was just like becoming this booming thing, so I did not research the things like I should have. And so now, I research everything. And so when I heard that Cervidil has the potential to basically rip apart your cervix and all these horrible things, I decided I did not want it. And I've just heard where it's turned women's cervixes into mush. And so I just wanted to stay away from that as much as I could, for sure. So, yeah, it looks like most people, even if they had an epidural, they did not, yeah, you guys are chatting a lot. That's great. I'm just trying to make sure I don't miss any. I have never taken alfalfa with any of mine. Is that good for bleeding or iron? That's what I'm wondering. I think I have heard of it. Oh, that's sad. Jessica said with her first child, she literally fell asleep between each contraction because she was so exhausted. She had an epidural, would feel the pressure, wake up and push. Oh, that's horrible, Kirsten. She said she kept throwing up after having an epidural. So, yeah, and Jessica, that's kind of how I am. My labors are very short, and that's why I feel like I can just manage the short amount of pain. I have a lot of, obviously they're painful, but it's not. I can tolerate it until transition. So everything leading up to about it is 6 or 7, I can handle. And then I always know I'm going through transition when I look at my husband and I say, I want to go home now. I can't do this. When I'm to that point, I know I will be holding a baby soon. And sure enough, within a few minutes, I've transitioned and I'm ready to push. So, Jess said epidural definitely slows down the process. I pushed for 3 hours with an epidural with my first. I ended up having an episiotomy and forceps. It does not sound good. Oh, that's horrible. I'm sorry. That sounds very bad. But okay, so another one of the pros, that's really about the only pros of having the medication. Obviously, less pain. You're more alert. You're not focusing so much on the pain and everything that's going on. And then it's effective for long surgical procedures. But there were a lot of cons to it when I was doing the research. One of the big things, sure. So when this happens, they need to get on oxygen. Suddenly the baby's heart rate might drop. The baby, so the baby, they detect stress in the baby as well. So that is something to definitely watch for. Also, a lot of women have different side effects, such as shivering, fever, itchiness from the site that it's at. There is a 1% chance of women after the epidural, after they have the baby, having out just a horrible massive migraine. And this is another issue too. I tend to always be in the very low percentage of women with anything. So I know I'm bound. I know that I'm bound. If I get an epidural, I'm bound to have one of these headaches. And that happens when it's a leak of spinal fluid. And you'll have this massive, massive headache. Some women are numb even after the epidural runs out. Their whole entire bottom half is numb. Some women have a hard time urinating and they have to have catheters placed. Oh, see, this is why I know I would be in the low percentage of all these side effects and these risks. And this is why I choose to just go through the pain because of this. And it's not even so much with me, like, I mean, obviously I'm worried about my baby and there's risks with everything, but I want to be alert and I want to be there and I want to be available as soon as my baby comes out. And I've known a lot of women that they have to focus so much on the mom because so much is going on through all these side effects and things of all the medications that they've given them. So I really want to be there and alert and things. So yeah, I don't have much pain until transition either. And some women have lower pain tolerances. And if you're screaming at a 4 with contractions, then you might want to think about getting an epidural. Your husband might never want to give you another child again. So, and traumatize your husband so badly from what happens. But I have a super high pain tolerance. So I'm able to deal with it until I'm actually in transition. So that's how it is for me. So yeah. Let me see. Let me make sure that, and someone just said she had a catheter too. I don't want one of those. Never had one and I don't ever want one. So, just a minute. Okay. Jessica said, my mom got an epidural with my youngest sister and she has had back problems ever since. I know. And that's kind of what I'm concerned about just because I do have back issues already. So you're going to pros and cons with anything. So I'm going to have to weigh the pros and cons, but, and then one of the biggest things that I've noticed too, when I was researching the pros and cons of all this was that the respiratory distress was mentioned. So you're definitely going to have to be aware of that. In fact, one of the lady that emailed me said that when her babies were born, they had hard times breathing. They had a hard time breathing when they were born, and she really thinks it was due to the epidurals and things like that. So those are just some pros of pain medication, and then the cons of the pain medication. Can you guys give me some of your stories with the Pitocin when it comes to that? I know that this is a very highly debated subject. Some other things of Pitocin that you have to watch out for is the side effects. Now, I guess I have been one of the lucky ones. I have not experienced side effects, nor my babies, with the exception of, I believe Pitocin can lead to jaundice. And now every single one of my babies have had some form of jaundice. And I wish I could think back to my ones that had the worst, because Pitocin does seem to kind of aggravate jaundice in babies. And my first one, I guess I can kind of think back in my head to all my babies. I hadn't really thought about it, but my first one had Pitocin, and he was what we called my little glowworm because he was so jaundiced. We had to send him home. We had to bring him home on a little light. So he had to be on that light a week to bring his jaundice levels down. And I always just kind of attributed that to he took forever to learn how to nurse. And he was born at 36 weeks, and he just wanted to sleep all the time, just wanted to sleep and did not want to nurse. And so it took a long time for all the meconium to come out of him. And that's kind of what I attributed it to. But that I'm finding that there's links between Pitocin and jaundice, I'm like, well, maybe that was one of the reasons he had it so badly. And then Abby, she was natural. I had the Cervidil with her. That was the only thing I had. I did not have Pitocin. She had jaundice, but it was not bad. It was manageable. Jason, I had absolutely nothing. He had jaundice. It was not a big deal. Chloe, I believe, was it her? No, I don't think I had Pitocin with her. She was one of my worst jaundiced babies, though. But once again, vitamin K can contribute to that. Now that I know that now, and all my babies did have vitamin K. So that was another contributing factor to jaundice that you need to be aware about as well. So if I was to have another one, I would do the vitamin K drops, and that would be one time in the hospital to keep them off my back. If I was having a home birth, and I probably wouldn't even deal with it. But in my hospital, they are so picky about the vitamin K. Like, you can refuse everything else. I refused the eye drops. I refused all the vaccinations. They are very like, vitamin K was, you really, really, really need vitamin K. They really pushed that very, very badly. So this next time if I ever have another one, I am very aware that how my hospital works and how they are. So I will bring vitamin K drops with me and do that instead versus the injection. So Miss Sherry said, I've never been induced, but from what I've seen is everything seems to be out of sync. The contractions are not in rhythm with dilation. I feel like once I hit a certain spot, I'm just gone. No matter if I'm induced or not induced. Once I hit that transition, I'm just gone. So I haven't really noticed, like once I get into transition, me slowing down. It's always when I'm at a 4 or 5, it seems to kind of slow down a little bit. But once I hit that 6 or 7, there's no going back. So it's been the same for me all the time. And then Dana said, my hospital NICU, if you refuse the vitamin K shot, they send your baby to the next biggest hospital 2 hours away. Vitamin K it's a very sore subject in hospitals. So I refused everything else, but once again, I was going to be vitamin K drops there. And I show up and they said, oh, well, no physicians will do vitamin K drops now. And I was unprepared. I didn't have them with. So in order not to have CPS after me, yes, I did the vitamin K with Kelly. I was able to refuse the eye drops, which I didn't think I was, because I was looking at the law in Illinois and it said by law, every baby in the hospital had to have the vitamin or the eye drops. So I was actually surprised that they allowed me to skip that. Now, I did have to explain why later. They asked for a reason why I did not want the eye drops. And when I asked, why do you need a reason? They said, because more and more people are refusing it and we want to know why. So I just told them it was, I don't know, it was my choice as a parent, and I saw no need for it since it was for sexually transmitted diseases and there was no way that my baby could have it. So just put it as religious reasons. I don't know. That's kind of the blanket thing to cover things, isn't it? So see, that's what I'm talking about, Jen. She said, my sister got CPS called on her for not doing vitamin K. She had to pull her, I am a nurse, explain her case, and they let it go. That's what they were really, really adamant about vitamin K. Everything else was like, okay, we'll let it slide. But vitamin K, they were really, really adamant about it. So, and Jessica, that's what I talked to my midwife about that. And she was supposed to order them. And I don't know if I was actually there when she was on the phone ordering them, like a month before Kelly was born. And I don't know if they just didn't come, and she didn't tell me that until I was getting ready to have the baby. But now, if I ever have another one, now I know ahead of time, this is what I'll do. So I would definitely recommend a birth plan too. I did a birth plan with my midwife for my hospital birth with Kelly, and it went great. I loved it. I put in there, do not ask me if I want pain meds unless I specifically ask you. No one said a word. I put in there, I do not want any shots. I want the baby with me at all times. And I put everything in there. I want dad in there. And it went perfectly. I loved it. It was right in the computers. They could all see my birth plan. And it went exactly the way I wanted to, with the exception of the vitamin K, which I did not know about until I got there that night. So, be informed, kind of, know what your hospital, if you have a hospital birth, know what your hospital is going to allow you to get away with, versus no new mom ever wants to have CPS called on them. And if it comes down to giving my child a vitamin K shot or having CPS take them, I'm going to do the vitamin K shot. That's just what I've decided. I do not want them in a foster home. Those first 2 or 3 days are so important when it comes to bonding and nursing and things like that. So the vitamin K shot, whereas it's not the greatest for them because it is synthetic vitamin K. And yes, I know there's a black box warning, and it has been linked to different kinds of childhood cancers and things. Morally, I do not have a problem with it because it's not like the other vaccines where it was derived from the aborted fetal tissue. So one of my biggest things, the reason I'm against vaccines is because of the moral aspect of it and the fact that they use the aborted fetal tissue in the making of their vaccinations. So, just be aware of everything that your hospital allows, your hospital doesn't allow. Have a written birth plan. Mine wasn't written, but it was in the computer system. Really go over that and really decide, if you feel like maybe you're going to waver with the pain medication. There was different suggestions like offer me pain medication if you think I'm not coping well. Don't offer me pain medication. Don't say anything unless I ask. And that was what I put down. I said, don't even ask unless I ask. I wanted to be in control of it. And they pretty much let me be in control of my whole labor and delivery when it came to Kelly. So, maybe part of the reason was because she was number 7. So I knew what I was in for. But they also told me something which was kind of cool. They told me that they really enjoyed seeing a woman labor naturally because 85% of the labor and deliveries that they did, the women had epidurals. 85%. That's what they told me at my hospital. So they said there was a very, very tiny percentage that came in and actually had their babies naturally. So it was really kind of neat for them to see someone go through it naturally. So I thought that was kind of neat to hear them say that. And then, of course, the fact that she was my 7th, they were just like, they were just in awe because that doesn't happen very often either. So we were like the talk of the floor. I like having a midwife in the hospital. She is employed. I'm trying to think, is she separate? No, I think she's employed by the hospital, by KSB. So she actually works there. But I like it because it's a very one-on-one relationship. It's a lot more close-knit, I would say, than a regular OGBYN. And then also she encourages the natural, but she also will recommend medication if needed, if she really feels like it's important. So I do like that. I am the same way. I like to have a balance. I like to do natural when I'm able, but I am not opposed to medical intervention if I need it. So I'm kind of right there in the middle ground. And I feel like that's what midwives are. OBGYNs, the ones I've had in the past, actually, they tend to push more of the medical, the Cervidil and all of that. But I'll tell you what my midwife told me. I was having a little bit of preeclampsia with Kelly, and my blood pressure was kind of going high. I had the gestational diabetes. I was at almost 39 weeks with her, and I was ripening according to the Bradley, that scale that they determined how close you are to being close to labor and delivery. I was very ripe. And so she told me, she said, I think you're about ready. And, we're kind of dealing with some preeclampsia, protein in the urine type things. So she said, she went ahead and stripped my membranes. And that's another thing that's very, I've never had a problem with it. I've had it done twice. And it was not really that uncomfortable for me. And in one case, it did start labor. And what happens is that if you are ripe and ready to go, it will trigger the I can't think of the word. It will trigger everything, that puts you into labor. So I did have my membrane stripped. And then she said, now go home and walk around. And then if you start having contractions, if you want to get contractions going, take 2 tablespoons of castor oil, mix them up with scrambled eggs, and eat them. And I'm like, okay, because I've had castor oil in the past and it was horrible side effects. And then it didn't even put me in labor. And I was like, what? Are you sure? Am I going to have side effects? And she's like, no. When you mix it with the protein, you don't have the side effects. So I said, okay. Well, I went home and nothing was really happening. And so Abby and Chloe, they're like, Mom, make the eggs. I'm like, no, that just sounds so gross. I don't want to do it. And they were like, no, make the eggs. So I'm like, fine. So I made the eggs. I couldn't even taste it, which I was impressed with. 2 scrambled eggs, 2 tablespoons of castor oil. That was it. Couldn't even taste it. Literally within an hour, I was having contractions like every 2 minutes. It was insane. And I had no side effects. It did not cause any gastrointestinal, I cannot talk tonight. It did not cause any gastric problems at all. So this was at 2 or 3 in the afternoon. We went into the hospital by 6 or 7, and I had her by 10. So, if you're 42 weeks and you're facing being inducted by other, meds or things, try that little trick. It might work for you. Now, if your body is not ready to go into labor, it's not going to go into labor. And that holds true for Pitocin. There have been women that have gone in to be induced, and their body is not ready to go into labor. And I am against most medical inductions, because God made your body in a way that it will send signals. When you're getting closer to having the baby will send signals when you are getting ready to have the baby. And if you get sent and you start the Pitocin, there's been a lot of times they've sent women home after 2 days. 2 days of being hooked up to Pitocin. Can you imagine? And having contractions? It's just not worth it to me. So, and it's also proven that if you look up medical inductions, they have a very high chance of having C-sections. Lots of women that go in for medical inductions end up having a C-section. So I would be very, very careful with medical inductions when it comes to that. You want to be really, really careful. So, oh, that's funny, Karen. She said, this restaurant has a recipe they post online that triggers labor. If it works, you get a free dinner. One of my boys is on that baby wall. That's awesome. And it's eggplant, huh? Go check that out. That looks pretty cool. So let me see. Yes, pain. Okay, pain, managing pain naturally. I don't really have any suggestions because I don't think I handle my pain that well when I'm in active labor. Okay, so I know a lot of women do verse cards. They make up cards and they have them kind of placed so that they can see the cards with the verses on it and kind of meditate on that during labor. Soothing music. I know a lot of women like that. I am the type of woman, when I am in a lot of pain, I just go into my own little world. I close my eyes, and a lot of people will say, don't close your eyes, but I do. I close my eyes. I go into my own little world. I don't want to hear anything. I don't want anyone to touch me. I don't want anyone to talk to me. Just leave me alone. That's how I am. So I guess for me, my pain coping mechanism is just going into myself, and I keep telling myself, the pain will be over soon. The pain will be over soon. The pain will be over soon. And that's what I tell myself. I know a lot of women do breathing exercises. That's never helped me. Yeah, I just kind of go into my own little world. I don't know if any one of you have any, and if you have any tips for helping women with pain, go ahead and leave them in the comments. I know one thing that my midwife did this last time. I had a little bit of back pain, so she took hot towels and rolled them up, and she placed them behind my back when I was laboring. That was when I was going through transition, when I was just like, I'm done with this. Let's get out of here. I can't do this. So she knew I was close then. So she did that. Some women have found that socks with rolled up tennis balls in them will help if you have back pain. My husband did rub my back when I had my posterior babies. I had incredible back pain, and he massaged my back the entire time. And he did, and I kept saying harder, 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 because that hurt so bad. And the next couple of days I had bruises because he rubbed so hard. And he's like, well, you told me to keep rubbing harder. I'm like, no, I told you to. It's fine. So, warm oils. I've had, if you can massage warm oils into your back, that might help with some of the pain. I have had a lot of back pain with a lot of my deliveries because of the posterior babies. So, even the exercise ball, I have done the exercise ball while in active labor. I kind of just lean on the bed with my head down into my arms on the exercise ball, and I kind of rock back and forth, and that seems to help me. So, yeah. And then Jen said, to help with pain, I do water birth, and my midwives push on my lower back. I also like cool rags. And then Karen said, I listened to these affirmations before bed for months before, and during labor, it made me sleepy and very relaxed. And so, hypnobirthing, I've heard of that. I've never really I'm not a good meditator. I don't know if it's because I'm just like, I don't know. I'm not good at that. Maybe that would be good for me to get into. And then Tara said, my midwife gave me sterile water injections for my back labor. I've heard of that actually. So yes, I have squeezed the daylights out of my husband's hands before. Yeah, I have done that before. So definitely. Then Miss Sherry said the instrumental hymns from Verity was a plus for my girls during their labor. So she liked the music, or her daughters liked listening to the music. I don't like listening to anything. I just want everyone to shut up and be quiet and leave me alone. So that is, I am not into just other sounds. I just want to be left alone. So, yeah, I do that a lot too, Jessica. I sit on an exercise ball and squeeze my husband's hand over and over again. He's pretty funny though, because when I'm in extreme pain, when I'm going through transition, he has a really hard time. And I think most of our husbands do, right? And so he has a really hard time. And this last time, he just kind of stood up by the bed and was like patting my head. Like, that's all he did. He just patted my head. And it was kind of annoying when I was going through it. But I look back now and I'm like, that's kind of sweet. Cause like he wanted to do something, but I'm just like in so much agony, he just kind of patted my head until I had the baby. So, our husbands, they don't like seeing us in that much pain. There's not much they can do until we actually have the baby. So, and Kirsten said, have your midwife teach your husband how to apply pressure to your back. I'm hoping for this baby, he'll be almost as good as her. Yeah, that would be good. I think warm rags, it would be good for your back. Even maybe on your head, if if you want something on your head. And Jess said, I always felt that being in a squatting position has helped with my pain. I don't want anyone touching me either. Yeah, I'm the same way. And right before I go to pushing, I kind of always get in that position naturally. I don't know why, but the last two I've done that. And I feel like when I do that, I get up and I turn and I kind of get down into that position, it kind of gets the baby lined up. And then just a few pushes later, usually, and they're out. So, and then Jen said, I also labor on the toilet until I get in too much pain, then I get into the birthing tub. Yeah, that's a good position. I kind of think it kind of gets them lined up too. So, see, and I think they do feel helpless, Jessica. That is kind of sad. She said, my husband wanted to cry because my last birth was no meds and I was crying and screaming from all the pain. He said he felt so helpless. And I think that's it. Our men were made by God to take care of us and to stop our pain if we have pain, not cause us pain. So when they see us in so much pain and they don't know what to do, they do feel helpless. So, my husband says he wishes we were back in the days where they banned all men from the delivery room. And I'm like, not so fast, buddy. You're going to be in there with me. You have to be there by me. So yes, Hope, that is one thing I do not like about my hospital. I've always wanted to have a tub birth and I never have with any of them. And our hospital does not do that. They only have showers. So they don't have the tubs. And that has always been kind of a bummer. And so that is one thing I've always wanted because I love water and I feel like water would probably help with my pain a lot. But I've never really gotten to experience that. So yeah, I want my husband there too. I'm like, no, you contributed to this baby too. You're going to be in here with me. So yeah. Oh, that'll be nice, Jessica. Really nice. Okay, where do I get my headbands? Walmart, and I got this one for $1. So check your local Walmart. If they're still selling non-essential things, that is. So yeah, we are pretty much there because of Corona. I feel badly for you women that are having hospital births in the next month or so because they've gotten so crazy with not allowing visitors in at all or not allowing your husband. I really hope by the time you deliver, this is all just gone because I would feel badly if you had to be in there laboring all alone. I love having my husband there with me up until, like I said, I'm in horrible pain that I just want to be left alone. But he needs to be there when the baby's born. That's just such a miraculous thing. It's such a miraculous time when that happens. So yeah, I've never tried the shower. I probably should. If I ever have another, but I've never tried it. I have never walked through transition. When I'm in transition, I'm in my own little world of pain, and there's not really much that anyone can do. So, but I think that's about all I had. If you guys have any more tips or anything, go ahead and leave them in the comments. I'm trying to think of other. Now, when I was pregnant with my first, we went and we did all the like the Bradley classes or whatever, the Lamaze classes, whatever they were. And they taught us all that breathing stuff. And I have yet to use it with any of mine. So, anyone, has it ever worked for you? Have the breathing exercises ever worked for you? When I am in that amount of pain, when I am having my babies, my body just takes over. And it's almost like I'm somewhere else because, my body just kind of takes over and it's just nature takes over, I guess, and instinct and all that. So there's not much until I'm actually having the baby. In fact, when I think back now, I can remember that time with all seven. And it's just such like a foggy memory in my mind because my eyes are closed almost the whole time. And I'm just focusing on getting through the pain, knowing that that prize is coming. But then when you have that baby, those 7 times have been the most miraculous and the most special times in my entire life. And there's no feeling like it. And I think it's what keeps wanting me to have more. It's just something in me. There's just when you have that baby, you bring that baby into the world and those 9 months of worry and anguish and trials and wondering, is the baby going to be okay? And all this, it's finally over. You're holding your baby. And I can't explain it. It's the best feeling in the entire world. And it's been the 7 most beautiful times of my life. And I'm sure most of you would agree that there's nothing that compares. When you see your baby for the first time, it's like the verse that talks about, the pain is forgotten because of the joy that a man has come into the world. You see that baby and it's just all the pain was worth it. The 9 months was worth it. The sickness and the back pain and just the worry and all that. It was all worth it. And I think that's what keeps women like us having more and more babies. We can't get over it. It's pretty amazing. So what does pushing feel like compared to other parts of labor? For me, it actually feels, I don't feel like that part is as painful as transition. Transition is the hardest part. Pushing, it can be painful, but it almost just feels good in a way because you're at the end. So I would take that over the transition. Transition is just, yes, it's relief. Exactly. To me, the pushing is relief because the contraction will be over after the push. Exactly. It is relief. And to me, the contractions aren't even as painful when I'm pushing as they are during transition. During transition, you're going from like this to this. You're going from and your body is just adapting so much in such a short time. It is so painful and the pressure is unbearable. But then when you finally get to the point where you're pushing, I feel like the contractions they're not unbearable at that point. It's almost like a relief. So, right, exactly. The head is just, once that head is there, the body just kind of slides out. It's an amazing feeling. Definitely amazing feeling. So, yes, afterbirth pains. I got some really great stuff. I'll try to link to it down below. It has called After Ease, I think, birth pains. It's just some liquid herbs that you put in water. It tastes nasty. It tastes disgusting. But I'm telling you, that stuff is miraculous. It really, really helps with after pains. And my after pains were the worst, I believe, with number 2 and number 3. Now, I still get them kind of bad, but it's only when I'm nursing and it's bearable. I can deal with it. It's not that bad. So a warm bath really helps. Sitz baths help a lot. So is transition the same as the ring of fire? No, transition is just like hell on earth, basically. The ring of fire lasts for a very short amount of time, and I don't mind it because I know baby's going to be in there in a second. as soon as I feel that. So my second came out on the bed because the nurse didn't believe me when I said I needed to push. What position do I sit or lie down in during transition? I tend to just kind of lay on my sit up, like I'm in a sitting position, or I'm on the ball, leaned over the bed while I'm in transition. And then right before I feel the urge to push, for some reason, my body always does this. I don't know what it is. Like I said, my body kind of takes over. I get up on my knees and I get over, my bed's usually up because I'm kind of sitting, and I kind of lean up on there and on my knees. And I don't know if that just gets the baby in position. And then I've actually had a baby in that position before. So, and they tell you, whatever you feel like, go ahead and do. If you want to push in that position, just do what your body's telling you. So your body kind of knows what position to get into. So it was funny though, because with Kelly, I knew I was going through transition because, like I said, I was ready to give up. And I got up into that position where I was leaning up against the bed that way. I'm kind of in a squatting position. And I told the nurse, I said, I have to push. And she's like, okay. And I'm like, are you going to check me to make sure I need to push? And she's like, honey, you've done this before. If you need to push, you need to push. But it was so funny because I just asked her, are you going to check me? Because they hadn't checked me at all. They just kind of let me labor on my own. And so sure enough, 3 pushes later, Kelly was born. So I was ready. I kind of knew, number 7, you kind of get the hang of it. So, yep, exactly, Kirsten. And that's why I don't even mind it, because I know the baby's there. She said, the ring of fire is the feeling of your body being stretched by the baby's head seconds before the baby is born. So, yep. Amber said, I've had all mine on my hands and knees, and my last 2 were water births, born above the water from the position I was in. That's really cool. So, yeah, and every lady is different. Like I said, your body's going to kind of take over. God made us to have babies, and instinct kicks in. And, one thing that I want to get across is look into this with an open mind, look into pain meds, look into Pitocin. But at the end of the day, the main thing is that your baby is here. Whether or not you have a pain medication-free birth, whether or not you have a C-section, whether or not you have it all naturally, the main thing is that you get a baby here that's born healthy and is born. That's the big thing. So don't ever feel, guilty or like you're not this superwoman if there's things that have happened. I remember I really battled with postpartum depression after Allie. I had wanted this picture perfect birth with her. She was one of my worst. She was posterior. She's the one that gave me a lot of, and I've talked about it, I think a couple weeks ago. She's the one that gave me a lot of the back pain. And I really struggled thinking that, what is wrong with me? Why did I have such a horrible labor and delivery? Every baby's different. You're going to have a different outcome when it comes to meds or no meds, epidurals or no epidurals, Pitocin or no Pitocin. But as long as you have a healthy, alive baby, that's all that matters. So definitely don't beat yourself up over any, decision that you made not really knowing, or, even if you had to have some type of medication, you didn't want it. The end result is that we have a baby here that's born alive and happy and healthy. And that is the end result. So that's the most important thing. But for me, I am just a big wimp when it comes to a needle on my back. And that is the number one reason. And I will always say it. I do not have like, oh, I'm against all medication and I'm never going to have medication because I have these moral standards. And it's because I'm a wimp. I don't want that big needle in my back. And I feel like I can deal with an hour of intense pain versus having them stick something in my spine. That just really creeps me out and I don't want it. So that is my main reason for not having pain meds when I have babies. So yeah, your body does. And it's crazy. Like I've heard stories of women going through transition and being ready to push, and the nurses are telling them, don't push, don't push. And I'm like, that's impossible. You have to push when your body's ready to push. Your body takes over at that point. Your body is taking over your mind. There's no way you can stop from pushing. So that's the most important thing. Just listen to your body and, write up a birth plan before. Really communicate with your OBGYN or your midwife what you want versus what you don't want. Be informed. And I really feel like if you're informed and you have knowledge on your side, then you'll come across as confident. And, with Kelly, I really feel they were so good with me. They were so hands off. And I just went in saying, this is what I want and this is what I don't want. And they were great with it. So, have that mindset, have that attitude. And I think you'll have the self-confidence that you need to have a hospital birth or whatever. So, yep. Like Karen said, make sure you hit like on the video, share it, all that. So, all right. Oh, that's so cool, Jen. I've always wanted to have a baby like that. She said that her first natural birth, she allowed her body to do it all. I was so afraid to push, so I almost fought against it. He was born with his water bag intact. It was amazing. That's really cool. I have seen babies that have been born in that. It is so neat looking when they're born in their caul. Is that what it's called? CAUL. When they're born in the water bag. That's really, really cool. So anyways, hopefully that helped. And if you have anyone that you know that is pregnant or about to have a baby, share the video with them. We kind of went over a lot of stuff in here. So I look forward to having Miss Sherry on next week. And I will be getting that out here, a thumbnail, an event, by Friday. So look for that and share it and invite people. So we will see you guys next week and have a great week.